today I'd like to introduce our special guest, Julie Smithton, and she's from the Metaverse, which is one of the leading virtual augmented and mixed realities in XR, which is changing the way we will learn how to be in the Metaverse, which we're really excited to hear all about. And Julie is a believer of a future is in collaboration, which is so important to all of us in the Hedera community also. So we'd like to welcome you, Julie. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm really good. I'm getting off of another speaking engagement where I talked about brands and marketing and all of that stuff. So now it's kind of a segue into, well, how is this marketplace going to play out? So really, excited about the timing of this conversation and hope I can bring value to everybody that's listening today.
Oh, I'm sure you can. And I know the community knows Zenobia God's Chalk, and she's the PR for Hedera. How are you today, Zenobia?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Thank you. And we have Tom Screen, as always, as our co-host.
Hi, Elizabeth. How
Good.
are you?
And I see Lehman Baird has joined us. Hi, Lehman. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, great. We're very excited to have you on and listen to all the news that you have to tell us about what's going on with Hedera and Swirlds.
And I'm excited to be here.
It's been a quiet week this week.
And I'd like to also mention to you, Lehman, that Julie Smithton is with us, and she's with the Metaverse.
Hi.
Hi, Lehman. How are you? Nice to meet you in this space.
Doing well. It's good to meet you in this Metaverse kind of space.
That's right.
The Metaverse is going to take over our lives.
Well, that's right.
Julie, why don't, for those in the community that do not know about Metaverse, would you like to introduce them to your project?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Julie Smithson, and I'm co-founder of Metaverse. Metaverse is spelled Metaverse. And we are a solution to immersive experiences. We have a game engine that powers interactive experiences built for the web. And we started our company way before Mark Zuckerberg called it out a couple of weeks ago. But going back into 2010, my husband and partner, Alan Smithson, and myself, we created the touchscreen technology for the music industry, launching a product called the Emulator in 2010. And from there, our company evolved into this immersive technology, learning and building over 125 different projects over 6 years, starting in 2016, to learn about the immersive space and to learn about that human interaction that people take when they use this technology and building experiences around that. So today, my role at Metaverse, I'm co-founder of Metaverse and our incredible team there, as well as produce a lot of the experiences clients in different sectors, retail, marketing, consumer goods, fintech, and we build experiences on our Metaverse editor deployed on the game engine and for multiple different variety of experiences that are out there, and really excited about the new partnership that we have with Hedera to introduce the marketplace into our solutions. And I'll stop there to see if anybody has any questions, because obviously we can take off from there.
And I also just wanted to ask you to introduce the community to the XR women's board that you're on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So it was about fall of 2020, and there was a group of women, Karen Alexander, myself, and Sophia Moshasha and Sarah Klein, who came together, and we said, we really need a place where, women can continue the conversations to help each other learn, to gain notoriety in the ecosystem and elevate those women who are working in the industry already to share what they've done. So we pulled together a group called xrwomen.com. In 2021, we had over 52 events. We had one almost every week with a few extra. And we met inside the And every week we highlighted and put a spotlight on certain conversations, wrapping our heads around this technology. Where is it going to take us? How are we going to interact with it? What are different industries doing with it, and the case studies? So I'm proud to say that we're just over a year old. We do meet immersively in iLearn, which is the Verbella campus, as avatars, but sometimes we take field trips into AltSpace and Frame and that sort of thing. So, but the main mission is to continue education, the continuing education component, that we support each other, and we also highlight and advocate the work that women are doing in the XR space. So really proud to be one of those co-founders and leading. And anybody can join. So anybody listening that would like to know more, please reach out to me or look up xrwomen.com or follow our socials, and we'll be able to share some of the amazing work that's being done in this space already.
Thank you. That's really very exciting to know, and I'm going to explore that more myself. But when you said field trips, that reminded me of you, Lehman, doing field trips in the office. And how is your field trip of this week going for you, with all the news of shaking out in Hedera and the council news?
I don't know about any field trips, but boy, there's a lot of news going on.
That's for sure.
So it's exciting. This is exciting. We are taking big steps along the path that we had laid out a long time ago, but it's just really exciting to see them happen towards decentralization and open sourcing and new things that we can do beyond what we're already doing. I'm very, very excited about all that.
Well, how do you feel about what's the most excited thing that you're talking about that you haven't told us about yet that you're planning on?
I don't know if I have any deep secrets to tell you, but I will point out that, as we said in the webinar yesterday, metaverse type things I find very exciting and a very good fit. And so, I talked about that a lot yesterday in my webinar, and I'm happy to be on a call with multiverse people here.
Yes, well, the webinar yesterday was so well produced and so awesome. Zenobia, you did a great job on that, and we thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I just shepherd the stories, and these guys have great things to tell.
Oh, they sure do. Tom, would you like to ask Lehman or Julie a question?
Yeah, actually, I had a question for Julie, but I thought I'd take the opportunity and just ask Lehman first. I just watched the webinar earlier on, and I thought it was great. I really liked the opening sequence. There was a sort of a step through the years of Hedera from right at the beginning up until the current day, beautifully narrated by Christian, I might add. And I just kind of wondered, I guess, from a founder's perspective, and it's not a technical question or anything like that. It's just, how do you feel, looking back on where you started to where you got now with the vision that you set out with, and yeah, how does that all sort of strike you now, I guess, moving forward into this next phase?
So it's amazing to me that at the start of this journey, we had these huge visions of what we would do. We'd have this council of amazing people, and we'd be able to build shared worlds. We'd have a public ledger, and we'd be able to have lots of private ledgers. And it was kind of hard to believe that we'd actually achieve all of that and ever get to see any of it. And so to actually see it all coming about is just kind of mind-boggling, to be honest. It's just, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hedera's grown up and going out into the world now, and you must be like nervous as a parent to let that go, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, it's great. Right, I mean, it's terrible to see a child leave home, but you want to see the child grow. This is the way things should be. It's a wonderful thing.
But you're still there, Swirlds is keeping a close eye on things, still developing the network and making sure that it's moving in the right direction, of course. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like the child is moving far from home.
No. So let me be clear. We are not leaving the Hedera community. All these people that are working in the Hedera community are continuing to work in the Hedera community. The only difference is now we can do all the things we were doing before, but we can also do more. That's the only difference. And so all the people going from Hedera to Swirlds, it's a reorganization. It gives us more decentralization. It gives us more flexibility. And it will let us keep doing the stuff we've been doing, adding features to the current platform, but also let us do other things to help build the ecosystem around Hedera. That's what's exciting, is not that we are losing anything. We're just gaining the ability to do some things.
That's awesome. And hopefully those things include Metaverse, which I was going to just, so going back to Julie, my question following up from what you said one of the things you do is produce experiences. And I thought that, could you give us an example of what kind of experience is that, like virtual reality, or what do you mean there? Can you give us an
Sure.
example? I don't know if it's private.
So one of the missions for Metaverse is that we wanted to democratize the creation process for everyone, but also the accessibility to experiences for everyone. And what is in everybody's hand today is the device, the mobile device. So we optimized our web-based engine for the mobile phone. And that was first and foremost. So the majority of our experiences are mobile, and it's everything from a retail experience to I've done medical training experiences with machines, so full industrial, training. There's a whole bunch of things, but really, it's the start of spatial awareness and design. And when it comes to that, it's about 3D. So you need 3D to be able to build any type of experience, whether it's in a mobile experience, an augmented reality experience, or a VR or a mixed reality headset experience. So that's where we started. We decided we wanted to monetize on where the 7 billion devices are out there. And so, as I said, the majority of experiences right now are all 3D. We do have a roadmap to go immersive into different headsets in Q2. But those are the types of experiences which it's where enterprise has started. They started with 3D. How do we transform our 2D manuals into 3D manuals? How do we, build out an experience device, a phone device that can be put in everybody's hands? So that's where we started with our experiences. And I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. No, just sort of hearing you talk about training and in-world immersive experiences reminds me of a video I saw a long time ago where SAP were talking about using Google Glass to overlay, maintenance and equipment maintenance instructions actually onto equipment. And I thought that was fascinating at the time, but it's obviously taken us a while to get to this point. So, the technology's gone through a curve as well. Do you feel like we're finally at the point where some of this thing can become a reality?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the biggest enterprise companies leading training around the world right now, building out, processes and applications for training, which, everybody knows that enterprise leads off with the technology that will be today. And I'm already seeing it. I'm seeing the approval and budgets for large amounts of headsets that are being deployed. So it's coming. And that, Google Glass, where you can, oversee, have that augmented world around you, it's a reality. It's coming. It's just, at what use case will you be using it for? And that's the big question. And just making sure that, it's not all about VR. And I think that's the big thing now. And 3D provides that interaction that you need in the space to make a transaction, for example. And that's one reason why we're here today, is to talk about, what makes, how do you get to that place of a transaction where you can start to trade things off. And, if you're building out an immersive experience, that's an internal business, internal process, but taking that out into the retail market and where there's a marketplace to trade, that's now very possible in these different worlds that are being built out there. And, I'm excited that Metaverse has started the process of building out called it's the Mall of the Metaverse right now, and really excited to be able to share this news of having a place, having a retail solution that's out there. And one of the trends that I'm seeing with a lot of clients is that they want to build their own metaverse, right? The regular spelling, metaverse, of course. And just to make everybody,
yep,
we are not the only metaverse. We are a part of the metaverse that's out there. And, that's the important key here, is that it's going to take a lot of pieces and parts and bits to put all of this stuff together. And we're happy that our game engine and editor is going to be playing a part in that.
That's awesome. Mance, hello. How are you? Nice of you to join us. We're happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. I actually made a mistake. I've been on since the beginning, but started on the computer and couldn't figure out a way to request to be a speaker.
But we're really happy to have you, and congratulations on all the news with Hedera.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's
been a good week.
It was a really great webinar yesterday. Would you like to add anything from yesterday's webinar, which I'm sure all the Hederians here were planning on seeing?
You know, I'm certainly happy to try and expand on anything that we talked about yesterday where it's possible. It is an exciting milestone for us. You know, we recognized yesterday when we were preparing for all this, it was me, Brett, Lehman, Zenobia, Christian, that was likely going to be our last webinar as Hedera employees. So just the recognition of that was really you know, interesting. It was an interesting emotion to go from where we started back in 2017 to this point. And of course, we're going to still be in the community. There are going to be lots more webinars and you know, various ways of interacting with the community. But now it will be from the position of being a member of the Hedera Council and part of the ecosystem in that way, rather than the CEO and CTO of the LLC. You know, I think it's important that those positions get dissolved, go away, and we fully decentralize operations. And now we're there. You know, we're at the edge of that. It's happening as we speak, and it's a major milestone for us. So
I wasn't sure how to address you, if you're still the CEO or of Hedera or not, but you're the CEO of Swirlds today?
Both, yes. I mean, I never left Swirlds technically. It's just that Swirlds, the only thing that Swirlds has been doing for the past few years is building software for Hedera. And then, of course, I've been the CEO of Hedera as well. And that's what's coming to an end. It's not yet at an end. You know, we're in the process. There's a lot to do to get through this transition. And so it's going to take some number of weeks to complete, but that's the case, yes.
I see. Well, it caught us by surprise a little bit, but Lehman, had you of course you were knowing that this was going to happen, and wondering how that affected you.
Oh, it's been something we've been looking forward to for a very long time. So, of course, from the very beginning, we had plans that were very large. Over the last year, we've been talking a lot about how we can start moving to the next phase, maturing. And so the foundation was a big step in that. And I was very excited we could finally tell the world about the foundation, because, of course, it was in planning for long before we could do it. And then the next step was this organization. And I've been wanting for so long to tell the world, and now finally we got to announce it. And so, you know, it's just wonderful to be able to finally talk about it. And so we will continue to be doing the things that we've been doing, but now we can add on this second layer of doing things that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and now we can do those as well. And so for the leadership, Vance and I have been leading Swirlds, of course, all these years, but Swirlds hasn't done anything except build all of Hedera, or half of it, and we've been leading Hedera. And now we are both going to leave Hedera and just be doing Swirlds, and we can do even more. But we'll continue doing what we're doing. We'll still be building a lot on Hedera, but we'll be able to do more things in addition. So I'm just really excited. This is just wonderful. This is what we've been dreaming for years of doing. This is wonderful.
It's amazing when you finally get to where you're going. And
Yeah.
you're saying, in terms of when the foundation was announced, it freed up Hedera, because Hedera couldn't do a lot of what the foundation is doing today.
Right.
So, in fact, you're being freed to do more software development.
Yes. So the foundation is able to be doing the grants that were difficult for Hedera to do. We will be doing ecosystem activities that would be difficult for Hedera. Hedera really needs and has always needed to focus on the layer one ledger, period, and not put a lot of focus on, say, applications that run on top of that or tools to help you use it. There was a little bit that Hedera could do, but it didn't want to compete with other people in the ecosystem. It wanted to just, from the beginning, we've had to build the bottom layer, the foundation. Now, we'll keep building the foundation. We'll keep adding features. There's a bunch of things I want to add. But we would now be able to build other things, such as tools to help other people build on top of it, that we just weren't a good, didn't make sense to be doing it as part of the L1 itself. And so now we can contribute to the L1. Other people can also contribute to the L1, but we will also be able to contribute to the whole ecosystem by building things like tools to help you do things, by doing standards to do things. The open source plays into that. We can build open source libraries that people can use to do things. There's just a lot of different things we can do now.
Yeah, the open source aspect of it just, it took me a moment to really understand the big impact that was going to have in the developers. Speaking of which, Patches is a developer on the Hedera network. Would you like to contribute to the conversation?
Yeah, I always want to thank you, Hello Future Buzz, for hosting these, and everyone for their times, Novia, Lehman, Mance, Julie. You just touched on something that was really, I think, the most invigorating part of this announcement for me, is to know that the focus of that infrastructure is now going to be coming from the masterminds that created that layer one. Being a person building tools on top of layer one as the company Turtle Moon, in your presentation, you talked about how you're going to be driving standards and standardization. And I just wanted to bend your ear on how are you going to manage when there's multiple shared worlds outside of the direct ecosystem of Hedera? Or do you have plans on how you're going to manage the mass standardization of things such as password recovery, like you were talking about, or just basic standards that each of these hash graphs can be isolated in their own world but would still adopt? Because you're going to have to kind of, I don't know, wrangle herd cats with all of these different ecosystems, but then also try to put a layer of standards on top. Do you have an approach to that?
No, this isn't it. We're not going to manage them. That's the thing. Just like the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee does not manage all the web servers in the world. All we have are standards for how you can talk to a web server, right? HTML and HTTP and HTTPS and these are the standards for how they talk to each other. But there's a million different people building web servers. There's a million different people actually standing them up, and different people building web server software. It'll be the same thing. So people will be able to use Hashgraph to build ledgers, these private ledgers, these ad hoc ledgers, these level 2 layer 2 ledgers, all sorts of things. And we won't manage them. That's the beauty of it. It's an ecosystem. You don't manage the ecosystem. What you do is you do standards. And when I say standards, I don't just mean that we declare this to be a standard. I mean, we can even talk to actual standards bodies and propose things and have other people modify them. And then finally the standards bodies say, okay, this is the official way for two ledgers to talk to each other. And there are interledger standards already, but I think we have some things to contribute there when it comes to state proofs and other things. So that's the whole point, is that we're not managing the Hedera ecosystem. You don't want an ecosystem that can be managed. What we want to do is work with the community to have standards that everyone helps create, everyone buys into, and then everyone can use so that we interoperate. And then there is no central management. It's all distributed. That's the goal.
So more of like a Web3C idea of what Web2 does with standards of HTML and JavaScript patterns, and then disseminating to, I apologize if I wasn't clear. I do know, like, Hedera's not trying to control these other Hashgraph, ecosystems, but thank you. That definitely brought clarity. And then just one follow-up, if that's okay.
Yeah.
With the change of Hedera to Swirlds, the Hedera devs have been an invaluable resource for us as we go through and integrate, our tools and build like NFT minting tools and stuff. But with them now becoming Swirlds employees, how do you approach the same execution of being a good development resource for the community and being an own privatized company that's trying to build its own IP? Even if you open source it, but still building their own products that might compete with that same question I'm asking a dev that works at Swirlds.
We will continue doing the things we've been doing, but we're also going to put it on steroids. The goal is to be helping developers who build on Hedera, help them with the open source things. Just today, I saw a really cool set of tutorial videos that were just created. The goal is to be able to do a lot more on those lines, along those lines that we have in the past, helping people use these things. In addition, we can be creating some new libraries and things that will help people use those as well. But absolutely, a central goal is to be able to help people use Hedera and use Happy, the Hedera API, and to be able to use the tools and the SDKs and understand how to build things and have examples. And we can do more of building example programs for people. And we can do more on organizing communities that help each other. Like on Stack Exchange, people help each other. We can organize more of those, or we can encourage those, I should say. The goal is to do everything we can to build the ecosystem. And we're not alone. We'll be one voice of many working to build the ecosystem. And that's the whole point. We want to stop saying, well, what is the one organization in charge of helping people use this ecosystem? We don't ever want that. What we want to do is have many people working to build the ecosystem, and we want to be leading the charge and getting others to do the same as well.
And let me just add to that. It's the case, you're correct, that it's the case that the engineering department, the product department are all moving over to Swirlds, and they're the ones that have been building Hedera as you know it. And they will continue to do so. That won't change. They won't be interrupted in the work that they're doing. And Swirlds will hire more. So Swirlds is not using the same resources to try to do more things. It's going to add lots of resources to do more things in addition to what the team that's been building the layer one is already doing and will continue to do for the foreseeable future. So yes, there's more to do, but there are going to be a lot more people doing it. It's not just the same set of people.
And let me put a plug in. If you are a developer, we are hiring developers as fast as we can. Please talk to us. We would love to talk about you coming and working with us. That would be fantastic. So please do get in touch. And you can still go to hedera.com/future. That's a great place to go, but you'll end up in Swirlds.
Well, as you were saying with the developing the ecosystem, I just wanted to ask Julie, that's exactly what you're doing with the XR ecosystem in the palm of your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
built
absolutely.
on Hedera.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we, in the last year, we took that step back to see, what could we build that would be that long-term play solution for a marketplace, and something that everybody can relate to is going to a mall. And this is something, obviously, remote work and being at home, and depending on where you are in the world, sometimes people are still in, isolation and things like that, is, our engine and building out the Metaverse mall, where, there will be 100 floors, and there will also be designated floors for different, types of goods to be sold, everything from jewelry to automotive to women's wear, menswear, and being able to then create that place, that marketplace of transaction where you can actually buy a digital good, or you could buy a real good and have it shipped to your home. And those digital goods, maybe it's something that you want to carry with you from world to world, or maybe that's something that you put on your avatar as you walk around that world. And we're really excited that we're going to be launching this mall that will have Hedera in place to secure that transaction, and building out that confidence and trust with the people who come to this place and to this ecosystem, which, if you want to call them all an ecosystem, I guess you can, but because it's going to host many different brands, it's going to host different types of experiences, whether it's through entertainment or through an art gallery or buying a pair of shoes or, going to a travel agent. So I think that it's really exciting. It's still very new. And my role at Metaverse is through production. So, being able to work and support our clients now and helping them understand is my bridge of connection into development, and being able to implement this marketplace tactic of trade is super important as we move consumerism to buying through digital means.
Can I just say how much I love what you're doing?
Yes,
can I talk about that for a second?
For sure. Thank you. It's exciting.
I am so overwhelmingly I'm sorry? I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I just said, it's an exciting
I'm so overwhelmingly
project.
excited.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. I think about years ago, you had something like Second Life with Linden Labs. There were people who made a full-time job of creating digital assets and buying and selling them, and they were all locked in to the servers of one company, one little virtual reality world, and you could never take them anywhere else. And even then, it was huge. It was a really big thing that people liked. But what you're doing is taking that little tiny town and turning it into a universe. You're giving people digital assets they can then move from place to place. They don't have to be locked into the servers of one company. I love that. NFTs are going to do that to the physical world too, but now they're doing it in the virtual world, and you're enabling that. That is so exciting.
Well, thank you. We can't do it without each other. So glad to be on this journey with you. But I think one thing we're hearing here at our company, Metaverse, is everybody wants to create their own metaverse right now. It's the trend, it's the buzzword, it's what everybody's talking about. And really, when you start to think about, building a metaverse, it's really just building a showroom. If you want to get really tactical, it's about building a showroom with 3D model assets that users can then interact with, whether it's on their mobile device or they put a headset on and they can use their controllers from an Oculus headset to maneuver and spin and, interact with the object itself. So if you start to put your thoughts into play of a showroom and having these interactable features, whether it's to buy something, trade something, whatever that purpose is, that's the future. That is where we're at. And being able to maintain and understand the interoperability now between worlds, whether it's through our metaverse or you go into Frame or you go into VR land, where there's so many platforms out there that are being spun up, and now you're going to start to go between those worlds. The bigger concern is, how do I take those NFTs with me? How do I take my wallet with me into different worlds, buying things and then putting them in my quote unquote backpack and carrying them to the next world? And that's really important. So I think what Hedera Swirlds is, I'm not used to calling you guys Hedera yet, so bear with me, or Swirlds yet, bear with me. But this is where we need trusted partners that are in the ecosystem, that are building communities of trust, because people are about to buy a lot of goods online, whether they be digital or real. And, being able to go to a place like the Metaverse Mall that we're building and know that the transactions that are happening are key. They're key for the experience itself, and they're key for people to return back to that space and buy again.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, I guess we may not need a backpack because we've got Hashpack, right?
That's right.
Sorry, it's a terrible joke.
Well,
speaking of which, May, nice to see you.
Hi, I appreciate the call out.
Would you like to contribute?
Sure, absolutely. That was a crazy little conversation there. And there's so much to talk about when it comes to the metaverse, when it comes to the community that we're building. And Lehman talking about opening up to building more on the space and building tools and all of that kind of stuff. I think it's fantastic. I actually wanted to start pitching into the conversation right around when Patches was talking and talking about standards and how do we get everybody talking together. And I think that the answer here is that we leverage this community that we have and we talk to each other and we build alliances, we build organizations that are designed to collaborate with each other. And now it's not Hedera, it's Swirlds, and Swirlds can be part of that as well and join in the conversation. And that's how we get interoperability, right? That's how we get people working together. and products from different companies working together. And I think that ties perfectly into the metaverse as well, with every company wanting to run their own little metaverse, or as you said, showroom. I think that's a great analogy, because a showroom by itself isn't really worth that much. You don't really go to a showroom as a casual thing. You know, you don't go to the Porsche dealership or the Tesla dealership on your spare day off, but you do walk around the strip. You do hang out with your friends in that space. And if that space is accessible and those showrooms are accessible from that space, that's where you get collaboration, that's where you get interoperability, that's where you get socialization, and that's what's going to drive the future of this space.
And virtual food courts.
Yeah, virtual food courts. Well, we do have Uber, right? And we do have people that are like ordering the same meal and then eating the same meal like as if they're at the same table, but they're doing it remotely. I had a bunch of questions, but honestly, Julie, by the time you started talking, you already answered all of them. So I just wanted to say that this is great, and I hope that we see a ton of collaboration in the future across the entire space.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the initiatives that I'm a part of that is focused on this is called Metatraversal with Ivo Henning and Ben Irwin, and there's a few others. The Kronos group is also part of this, putting together what do those standards look like through interoperability. And already we have identified, avatars are a huge piece. Well, what are the standards around avatars moving between spaces and how they carry goods? What is the digital twin, environment like that will port certain goods into the next one? And that's the biggest concern right now, is how do I carry my stuff with me if I start to buy in these worlds, because they're going to start to connect, right? Our mall may connect with a Snapchat mall one day. Who knows? So we need to start to really think about how, when we're buying goods in these worlds, and especially if they're digital goods, how do we take them with us beyond that? And this is why we're part of some of these forward-thinking conversations to make sure that things are in play, just like Swirlds is doing. They want to be part of that conversation to make sure that the best practices and the best people are at the forefront of being able to put these things together so that all considerations are made for everyone around the world.
Well, Lehman, isn't that your vision of shared worlds, where you discussed yesterday how you travel from one to the other?
Absolutely. This is the future. You cannot have a single walled garden where everything of interest and everything of value is locked inside. You've got to be able to go anywhere run by anyone. That's the future. We have to have that.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, I think there's a challenge as well as being able to carry things around that you've carried from one digital world from another. I guess my perspective on digital worlds as well extends into the real world and sort of monitoring assets and tokenizing assets and then bringing those actually into the digital world. And I was also thinking, obviously that's from a business perspective, but as well, just thinking from a kind of a small creator perspective, people that might do crafts and go to craft fairs. And are they the kind of people that are going to be able to come into the mall of the metaverse and bring their physical wares, be able to somehow 3D scan them and present them? Is that on your roadmap as well, do you think, Julie?
I think so. I think that, there's a lot of considerations to be made depending on, what type of goods are they, first of all. And there's two considerations too. There's real goods, right? Ones that could be shipped to your home, that brand new pair of shoes. And then there's digital goods, which maybe those shoes now fit on your avatar. So there's going to be different rules for different things. There's still a lot that's being uncovered and unfolded. And, honestly, I'm working on just interoperability between one of the sites our XR Women group has, and then actually through Frame. And we're trying to figure out what does that, walking between worlds, how does your avatar change, and what is carried through. So there's definitely a lot of people working on that. I think next is just, let's write the rule book And I think that's really important as we move through this, that all platforms adhere to whatever that rule book is, that goes into detail of these interoperable. You're really an interoperable being as you go through these different worlds, and you're going to change shape, but your backpack of NFTs or your digital goods should never change. So what does that mean? And that goes really technical. And I would be happy to invite somebody else from my team to kind of talk about that one. But definitely top concern of just making sure that we value who enters into our space and how things play out while they're there.
If I may, Tom, on the topic of crafts and like individuals who are making like a little Etsy store with the crafts that they made, and how do they translate that into the digital world? We are going to see digital creators, right? We're going to see digital crafts, and this is actually already present in a number of communities, particularly the gaming community. You can look at twitch.tv, which is a streaming service. And something that the streamers there have are something called emotes, right? Emojis. And they're custom emojis. And there are entire professionals, like entire groups of professionals whose job is to create attractive emojis for these streamers. Or VTubers, which have a visual avatar for the streamer that just sits on the screen instead of the streamer's webcam. Those are 3D models with emotions, and they do head tracking and all that. That's also something that people are just doing professionally for a living, right? And so I think that as we see this metaverse concept come to fruit, we will see people who just solely develop things. You could develop, instead of wearing a Nike brand blazer on your avatar, you would have a blazer from somebody who is just a creator in the community, and you just know them by their name, and that's an exciting thing that will happen in this space. It's just natural.
We're seeing the creation of entire new classes of jobs, which is not to be surprised, right? Not surprising, really.
Isn't that what mixed reality is all about, though? The mixed reality spectrum, Julie, of physical and digital worlds?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's part of it. Like when you think of immersive worlds, you could be immersed into an experience just by your mobile phone, by pinching and zooming and clicking and buying. That's an experience, right? How you elevate that experience into using hardware around that, and then introducing the marketplace blockchain and things like that, you become more and more immersed. So when you say you think about immersive technologies, it's that gateway into an experience, and the more deeper technology you use, you become more immersed in that space. And I hope I answered that question.
Yes, go ahead.
And I think this is the tip of the iceberg. We're still a few years away from having extremely lightweight sunglasses that will give you AR worth doing, but we are going to get there in a few years. And at that point, we start bringing the digital world into the physical world. So you're walking down the street, seeing real people, and then seeing virtual items that they have created and bought on them through your sunglasses that show you a virtual overlay on the real world. I think that we're a few years away from the hardware for that, but it will be coming. And all these things that are being done right now that you're doing with VR will apply directly to the real world when VR starts to spill out into the real world with AR.
That's amazing. Well, I'd like to also invite some of the community members to speak. And King Solomon, how are you? Would you like to contribute?
Good. Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me up. I want to say congratulations. I think that consensus voting, the consensus mechanism, open source, was a gigantic step forward for kind of the growth of what we're going to be able to see within Hedera's network. And I just think it even goes to show just there's extremely heavy hitters on that governing council, as we all know, the owners of the network, and there's a lot yet to be announced, and it shows the belief in that network to, they believe that the expansion out is just a necessity, and it's a matter of when, not if type thing for me. But talking about NFTs and Metaverse, I think it's really interesting, and I think one of the things that is really going to be the game changer is the empowerment of not just like the, influencers. And I understand like building it out enterprise grade makes total sense. The mass populace, like the little guys and the little, little girls, little guys, for lack of a better phrasing, there, I think, where really the power is within this space, because a lot of the people, when they get the bug about crypto, DLT, Hashgraph, things like that, they kind of are all in. And I'm really interested to see these platforms empower people, because I believe that NFTs in the metaverse at some point aren't just, certainly digital artwork plays a role, but it's kind of that gateway into what happens with NFTs eventually anyways, where digital identity and all of these different things play a major role. So building it out in the right way is insanely important. So yeah, thank you to Metaverse. I just followed you, Julie, too. I'll be doing some research and paying attention to you guys, and Hashpack, obviously. So definitely Mance and and Lehman, you guys doing these, I think, is insanely valuable for the community. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Julie, you've got a new fan.
Thank you.
We're really excited about your project.
I think interoperability is extremely crucial when we're talking about that, and I'm curious to see like when EVM compatibility like is fully flushed out production wise, like within all of these different platforms that are building on Hedera. I think open sourcing Hedera is huge, because I've always like, and not sorry, hello future, but like I think it's a lot about that level playing field where assets that operate within systems just tend to do certain things better than other assets operating in other systems. And that level playing field to me is the consumer's choice on which, or the business's choice on which assets they utilize for which different reason they want to utilize the asset. I mean, it's kind of reinventing all of the economy that we see globally and doing it from the ground up, which is just insanely interesting.
Yeah, I think a little curve to that would be that it is the businesses, but then again, all of that hopefully will be abstracted with Hashgraph being adopted by everyone globally, and people like Julie building metaverses that use this standards that Swirlds has pushed forward and everyone adopted. So that kind of abstracts away all of the nuance of networks and everything. And that's kind of what Lehman, let me just speak for you, Lehman, but in all your videos, what you're talking about is that shared world, that simplicity. To bring it to a question for you, Lehman or Mance, building that, we're very early in that journey, but you guys have already built a very good foundation that's going to take us there with the intricacies of smart contracts, EVM, multiple chains, conversing with each other, along with Hashgraph being open source. Do you have a preferred method you think would be the best for adoption and innovation of creation, and not how to create, for Hashgraph and other networks to integrate with each other through all these intricate systems?
So if you're talking about the best way to integrate, you need communication between ledgers with something like state proofs. And we can talk a lot more about what state proofs are and how they can be used to have communication between ledgers that are very trustworthy. If you're talking about what should we build in general, the answer is there's a lot. And all of us should be working together. All the people on this call can be working together to build all the different pieces of the future that we're looking for, including the metaverse, which is very exciting, and including interledger communication, and including a million other pieces of it. And I would encourage everyone on this call to get involved in helping to build all the different pieces of this future.
Love it. I think there's definitely an explosion of creativity that we've seen, which is amazing. And it's really encouraging. I think there's an opportunity for pretty much anybody to get involved. I think I saw a tweet a while back from somebody who was saying, if you've got any creative ideas or anything whatsoever at the moment, it's such a ripe time to do that. There really is an open opportunity for everybody to make their mark, which I think is fantastic.
And I think that, this year is the year of the creator. That's what we keep saying. It's, and it leads back to the fact that we need content. We need content out there for people to go and visit, people to go and interact with, and whether or not to buy or not, but, and having those tools that are out there. And just so you know, the Metaverse also has an editor, which is code optional. And this allows for that creativity to happen from multiple different levels. You don't have to be a coder now to create, and honing in on those tools to be able to design and build, world build beyond your imagination, and then introduce ways to value things within that space and provide that I'm saying gamified because everybody loves a game. That's how things happen. It's a trade-off, right? You play something, you win something. And moving into whether it's the metaverse mall or whatever type of experience it is, people need a purpose of why they come to these experiences. So if you can create a purpose for them to come and meet with others and again, and drawing on that community to be able to build that trust to make that transaction, and then maybe being rewarded for going there, whether it's points or they get sent, they get a digital asset for free, or maybe even they get sent a free t-shirt to their home in real life, whatever that is. It's making experiences that are interesting, engaging, that again will encourage somebody to come back again and play, so to speak, or interact.
So, Julie, may I maybe provide a little bit of my own ideas in this topic? If we're talking about gamifying a metaverse, if we're talking about creating a reason for people to go onto a metaverse, this is something that games have been doing for a long time. And you think about the premier gaming experiences like World of Warcraft, like Final Fantasy, like Minecraft, well, Final Fantasy 14, like Minecraft. And these are all game communities that exist where people come together to do things, and they buy things, like they buy equipment and they buy gear and they show that off, and they spend money on clothes and they spend money on digital houses in those games, and those are one-off games, but people are spending money. And I think that the reason why that is the case, and the thing that worries me a little bit about the descriptions of the metaverse right now around the Hedera sphere, is that it's all about products, and it's all about selling, and it's all about trying to get people in to buy these things and buy your digital assets and buy your physical assets that are linked with digital assets and things like that. And if we're looking at games and how those work, it's not about buying things that makes it an experience that is worth remembering and cherishing. It's about those social interactions. And so I think that if there's any metaverse here that is going to be very successful, it's going to leverage those social interactions. It's going to be able to connect people and make meaningful memories with them. And, then suddenly your sneakers that you wear that get noticed by your friends when you're in the metaverse, then suddenly those become important. And then, the things that your friend made for you, they make a silly hat and you wear that in the metaverse, and that means something. That has a lot of sentimental value. And I think that, it's great that you talk about creating a mobile app and focusing on that, because people are always on mobile. Well, how do you integrate that metaverse into mobile? It's because when you use your mobile, you're connecting with your friends, you're connecting with people, right? And I think that if we can kind of be cognizant of that and cognizant of why these gaming metaverses are so popular, and then bring that into this idea of a metaverse and sort of not tack it into the idea of selling things, but make it part of the whole experience. I think that would really make it a lot more of an attractive kind of
100%. I agree. And that's actually our mantra behind the scenes, is building community first. Because again, you need that community to have that trusted space to interact. And hey, maybe there isn't a purchase, but it's that socialization piece that's the draw. And I think that's one of the things that's most important to many organizations right now, and people. But one of the things that coming from one of my other talks, taking away that, instead of using that campaign, the marketing campaign, start talking about the marketing community that you're going to build.
Oh, I love that. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I can't believe, Tom, as it always does, that the hour flies by. But I wanted to give Manson, Lehman, and Julie an opportunity to have any final words. Mance, would you like to go first?
Well, thank you. So I'll be very brief, just because it's a whole topic in and of itself. But I think part of this conversation, as we think about the metaverse and Web 3.0 more generally, is how we change the way that social works generally. right? When we think about Web 1.0, it was decentralized and distributed. And maybe some of you have heard me say there's a famous story about Bill Gates making the decision back then to turn the ship 180 degrees and give up on building a walled garden around the Microsoft network and instead embrace open standards that became Web 1.0. In Web 2.0, it didn't happen. The opposite happened, right? We have a universe of walled gardens in the social media platforms. What we're talking about here in Web 3 is creating a metaverse, thousands and thousands of shared worlds that can integrate with one another, and social interactions are going to be a core piece of that. And the standards around creating sort of a unified social protocol, if you want to use that term, are important, and it's something that should be pursued as part of the bigger picture here. It's supportive of the virtual reality piece or the augmented reality, the new user interfaces associated with it. It's complementary. It requires an identity component. It requires the use of DLT in shared worlds and the way that we've sort of envisioned it within Hedera and Swirlds. And it's a piece that's not often talked about when thinking about the whole set of protocols that together are going to create what we're calling Web 3.0. So anyway, it's a big topic. I wanted to just mention it here, and thank you all for participating here. Lehman?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of you for what you are creating, what you are building, and for being with us on this journey. It's just wonderful to be with you.
Thank you, Lehman. We're happy to come along with you. And Julie?
Yeah, thank you so much. Metaverse is excited to be a part of this community and, to be on the forefront of giving brands and customers a place where they can, connect with their customers in a whole new way with real and virtual customer support. And it's a new world for everyone. And we're excited to see what our brands are going to do to build and, evolve from this community. So thanks everybody for your support. And, we're really excited to see what 2022 brings for us. So thank you.
Woo-hoo! That's awesome, Julie. Thank you. We're so excited. And Zenobia, I'm just so happy that you could come with us too.
Well, thank you. We appreciate everything that you guys do in terms of just educating, right? There's a lot going on. We recognize that. We recognize that there are a ton of moving parts, as I'm sure, you all can relate to. It is a lot to digest. I think you're pretty used to Hedera sort of throwing a lot at you very quickly. So, please, if there are questions, do ask us, because we try to make sure that we share as much information as possible, when we can and as soon as we can, but we may have missed some things. So please continue to engage and ask us questions. And we're excited for this next phase of the journey. I just want to share anecdotally, I don't know if Mance and Lehman remember this, but our very first meeting, this is 2015, we talked about shared worlds and Lehman's vision for that. And, it's hard to believe that it's been 6+ years from that, but, Rome was not built in a day, right? So all of these things, in hindsight, I think we will say, of course, that's how the development had to go. Of course, that's what you needed to do first. Of course, that's what you needed to do next. Yes, that all makes sense now, but I think as you're watching, the house being built or the city being built, sometimes it's hard to imagine what that end product will look like. But luckily, we have Lehman to paint that picture for us.
Definitely well visionaries. And we really appreciate you guys coming on today and sharing your thoughts with the community. And we wish you all the best of luck in the world in your new ventures, going back to Swirlds and And I'm personally happy to know that you're still going to be representing Hedera on the council, and that you'll be part of our community going forward. We need you, and we're very happy to have you with us.
And welcome
thank you
back
so
on
much.
Hello Future Buzz anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll end this, as I always do, with an appreciating all the Hederians for coming. And hello, future. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Hey.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.